Salutations, one and all, and welcome to this week's return to the business focused podcast that is the Revitalise Meets interview channel, or Revitalise Meets, where I get the opportunity to meet some fabulous, wonderful global and local business professionals to really delve into the conversations even further, to find out about them, to find out about their business journey, and to find out about so much more about where they are at the moment and what they're looking for, which I think is extremely important. In this day and age, as we network for business, it's really important to take the moment, to take the time to really find out about your connections, because at the end of the day, how can we help each other if we don't know about each other? And that is what this Revitalise Meets, the business focused podcast, is all about. Now, we're live on LinkedIn, live now, and we're also live on the YouTube channel for Revitalise Networking. So welcome to all our subscribers and connections who are going to be watching and listening to us right now. Now, as always, if you are watching and listening, don't forget, drop your conversations in the chat area. If you've got any questions for my guest today, or here's something of interest or intrigue, make sure you drop that in the chat area as well, and we can certainly respond to that as quick as we possibly can for you. Now, as always, as I said earlier, it's great to be welcoming along some phenomenal connections. And as always, I've known this gentleman for quite a while now, and I've seen his journey progress, expand, and increase over the past sort of nearly more than 12 months plus. He's been helping many people bridge the gap into HR, giving them some phenomenal advice in their businesses, individually and from a corporate level. Can you please welcome with me today and this week, the one and only, as always, Mr. Stephen Allan of Concept HR Solutions. Stephen, how are you today?
I'm good, Lee. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I've had too much coffee, so you've had a phenomenally long introduction there as well. But thanks for joining me today.
Oh, thank you very much for having me along. It's great as always.
You're more than welcome. He's normally jet setting around the world, but I've pinned him down. So good to see. Stephen, let's start off first of all. Could you give to everybody who's watching and listening today a real overview of the story so far of your business, from where it started to where you are right now? Would you mind sharing that with everybody?
Sure, of course. So, as you've already said, I'm the owner of Concept HR Solutions, and we are an HR consultancy based in Ayrshire and Southwest Scotland. And we provide outsourced HR support predominantly to businesses in the SME space who don't have access to their own internal HR department. We also do work with internal HR teams to provide additional support and resources as and when they need it as well. And for me, the aim of the business is very much to work in partnership with ambitious businesses, providing expert HR strategies and solutions to help those businesses manage, develop and retain their people. And for me, one of the key words in there is very much around about the partnership aspect of what we do. And for me, it's about getting to know the client, it's about getting to know the business, and it's a real personalised approach to helping them move their business forward. And supporting them on their business journey and helping them to create really great places to work that put the employee experience front and centre. And by sort of kind of taking those steps and investing in their people, it just provides so much opportunity for their business. So the business has now been running for just over 2.5 years, and in that time I have had the opportunity and privilege to work with some fantastic businesses and working across a diverse range of sectors, including hospitality, care, IT, digital marketing, the motor trade, aviation. So it has become really, really broad in terms of the industries that we work with. But for me, it keeps it really fresh. It keeps it really exciting because you're getting so much exposure to different industries and different ways of working. And it always throws up different challenges along the way. And for me, again, probably the main reason sort of kind of why I started the business up 2.5 years ago was I ended up finding myself facing a redundancy situation for the third time in the space of 4 years, and having spent kind of my entire career since pretty much I left school and left university, working for sort of larger corporate businesses. When I was sort of faced with that situation, I was at a bit of a crossroads, and it's something that you don't really want to continue to keep facing time and time again. And as I say, I sort of got to that crossroad, and I had a bit of a decision to make at that point. And for me, the decision was: do I go and find another job somewhere else with the possible risk of the same thing happening again a year or two down the line, or do I try something completely different? And on that occasion, I chose to do something completely different and take the step towards consultancy and setting up my own business. And as much as I've always loved, kind of my corporate career, and I've got a lot of fond memories looking back on that, I absolutely love what I'm doing now, and I don't have any plans to sort of take the step back. So,
Stephen, it's interesting. Again, it's always interesting to hear where people start off from, but there's always a crossroads. There's always a crossroads that happens somewhere.
Yeah.
Before I get into my next question about sort of like the challenges, because that's one I want to talk about, that redundancy part of you, and that was probably a challenge to you to try and step over. How did you get involved with the motor industry? And I bet that was a different type, because I came from a motor industry background for 10 years. Was that working for them, or was that sort of consultancy wise, or were you working full time from the dealership? Where were you?
That was it was consultancy. So there are a couple of clients that I've worked with who are in the motor trade, and some of that has came through clients who've approached me directly, and there's also some clients that I work with who have came to me through Business Gateway. So that's sort of kind of how that came about, certainly with that industry in particular.
It's interesting because it's a certain dynamic, because you've got certain characters and different dynamics within the dealership, but also from the head office perspective as well. Did you see that quite an abundance of different areas and environments in that sort of industry as well for motor?
We did a bit, and I'd probably say sort of the businesses that I work with were probably more sort of independent as independent businesses, independent dealers, as opposed to kind of some of your bigger car dealerships that are out there just now. So yeah, it's an interesting trade.
It is indeed. You talked about the redundancy. I'm interested to find out about this now from this sort of next question to delve into. I always talk about challenges and achievements that you've had. I went through redundancy myself, and there's a certain mindset that kicks in. You've either got to survive, you've got to find something to go. You're either going to go down the route of getting another job, but how long did you make of saying, do you know what? I'm going to work for myself? Was that literally within a few days? Was that in a few hours? Did it take a bit longer?
That took a bit longer, definitely. I think in the couple of the occasions where it's happened previously, I've probably made peace with it quite quickly, to be honest. And on the third occasion that it happened, it did come as a bit of a surprise. It was a bit of a bolt out of the blue. But there's not really a great deal you can do to control these sort of things. So you have, as you say, you've got your option. Your option is you either lie down to become a victim of it, and worry and stress, or you invest that energy in deciding, right, okay, what's the game plan? What am I going to do next, and how can I get one step ahead before this ultimately does happen. But on this occasion, I was really, really torn, and as I say, I had begun to look into setting up the business and becoming self-employed. But I was so on the fence. I was really torn about what direction I was going to go in. And then I did actually have some holiday in the sort of middle of the consultation, and yeah, I think that was the time when I just had that time just to take a step back and have a think, right, okay, what's next? And I think I maybe just had a wee bit too much time on my hands on this occasion, and I did just sort of go, no, do you know what, that's it. And as soon as I made the decision, everything just started moving forward. And I'd probably say it was more challenging not being able to make up my mind about what I was actually going to do. But as soon as I committed to it, I made the decision. The plans just all started coming together, and here we are, 2.5 years down the line. So.
Brilliant. Well, congratulations on 2.5 years, because it's a testament in itself to get past the 2-year mark, to even get up. You always hear everybody talking about getting to the 5-year mark in your business when it really starts to sort of kick in as well.
Yeah.
That's a big achievement on itself, really, Steve. When did your first sort of, I mind asking this actually, so from that challenge, overcoming it, deciding to work for yourself, when did your first sort of client come on board with it? Was it within a year? And how did that come about?
It was probably within about the first sort of 6 weeks of starting up. And the first 2 clients that I worked with, one was a previous work colleague who I had worked with a couple of years prior. They had sort of started up their own business just about 12 months before I did. And when they saw on LinkedIn that I was going out on my own, they got in touch, and I started working with that business, and I'm still working with that business on a retained basis to date. And then my second client was actually a client of my partner. So as you know, my partner's a hairdresser. So they had actually been in getting their hair done one day, and one conversation led to another. And again, I still work with that client to date. And so that was sort of kind of how that came about for me.
Do you know, again, it's another interesting fact. It's where opportunities arise without even knowing it. And some of these opportunities arise without you being in the room, or partner, friend, family, start chatting to people, and it opens up a door of avenue, and then it just has a snowball effect for you. And I guess that's probably what happened with the hairdressers, and then working with somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. We've spoken about this before as well. You just don't know where a conversation leads, and as I say, conversations don't even need to happen when you're there. So and again, that just sort of shows how these things can come about.
Yeah, and we've been working together, and you've been part of my journey, etc., as well, and part of the networking sphere since lockdown as well. And one of the questions that I really still like to ask now to all my guests, especially with your business and the HR and the advice that you're giving, how have you adapted to a virtual world? Do you still travel? Are you traveling more now, or are you still embracing the virtual on-screen conversations and interviews, etc.?
I would probably say for myself it is a real mix. There are a couple of clients that I work with who are a bit further afield, and they're probably up to they're up towards the north of Scotland, and a lot of the work that is done there is done virtually, but it works for the client, and ultimately that's what you're looking for at the end of the day. And what I am finding is that I'm starting to work with a lot more businesses who are Ayrshire based, so that obviously that's where I am, and it's a lot easier to sort of get out and work face to face and in person with some of the clients within kind of the Ayrshire vicinity. So for me, it's got a really sort of kind of good split, and ultimately at the end of the day, it's about sort of supporting the client in the best way for them. So.
It's interesting though. I mean, again, it's where I keep using interesting all the time now. But I think when we're looking at an online world, and I'm a big ambassador for this, is that what we do virtually plays a major part now, and it has done. We weren't using it to its full potential prior, and I think that's been a game changer for many businesses now, using a virtual platform.
Yeah.
We have a lot of technology that we use now that you've talked about apps and things that you use. Giving advice and knowledge where you need it as well. And I think the virtual element, the technology side, plays a major part in our business now.
100%. And I think for me, sort of move in some of the roles that I've done previously, they've been regional roles. So I've began to get, in that part of my career, you're getting some exposure to using these sort of tools and collaborating with other people in your team who are, spread over a geographical region. But I think, going through the pandemic, as we say, is a prime example for so many businesses, and how it really sort of kind of propelled that way of working forward quite considerably. That's enabled me to take a lot of that with me and kind of utilize a lot of that technology in my own business and find ways of working with my client base to enable us to work, kind of quite, really productively, and use the tools that we've got there to collaborate together in ways that you would never have even considered before.
Do you feel that technology, though, especially in your industry in HR, giving that advice, giving that sort of professional insight, etc., and helping these corporate clients, do you feel that technology plays a bigger part now than ever before? Do you use technology to give advice and knowledge as a resource?
I wouldn't necessarily use technology to provide advice, but it's certainly something that forms a big part of the conversation when we're, in terms of sort of kind of how we try and enhance the employee experience. So, gone are the days of people really relying on things like paper holiday forms, or wanting to rely on things like paper holiday forms as a prime example that, by the time the manager actually puts their hands on it, gets to sign it off, the employee's lost the window, the decent, getting the chance to go away with their family. So, for me, utilising technology and things like HR information systems, HR management systems, and using these tools to streamline the admin that you've got in your business, using them to onboard employees and, that are new to the team. It's, for me, it really plays a massive part in the employee experience, and kind of creating a simpler, a better and simpler working environment for our people. But at the same time, there's a lot of business benefits that come along with that in terms of streamlining admin, saving the time, and along with it, kind of when you're saving time, you're essentially saving money at the same time. And through doing that, it enables business owners to also focus on what they do best, and that's running their business, and not feeling as though they're continually bogged down with HR admin. So, technology does play a huge part in what, kind of the work that we do, and how we try and improve operations within clients' businesses for them.
Brilliant, Stephen. Thanks for answering those questions. I think we have to embrace it. We have to use it, and there's a time and a place to use it as well within anything that we're doing. But you cannot beat the face-to-face, having that mutual conversation, meeting people, putting that time together and seeing people as well.
Yep.
I've just, for everybody who's watching and listening, just let you all know, I've just dropped in Stephen's website address into the YouTube channel. So if you go to Revitalise Networking on YouTube, have a look there. We've got concepthrsolutions.com just dropped into the chat area. If you're watching us and listening to us on LinkedIn and the YouTube channel, please feel free. If you hear anything from Stephen that pops up and myself, just drop in your questions in the chat area. We'll certainly see them. So just drop them in there. We'll give you a wee mention if you're in there as well. So please feel free to drop a question for Stephen and myself in there, and we'll get round to it as quick as we possibly can as well. You've been running your business for 2.5 years now, Stephen, right? So from that time, for somebody who may be in startup mode at the minute, just thinking about that decision to work for themselves, what would be your golden top 3 tips in business to someone who's listening to you right now? What would you share with them?
If you are, I think if you are looking to start up and with the aim of employing a team of people, or you're going to start off with a couple of people, is absolutely find a way to keep yourself up to date with what is happening in the HR and employment law space. This year alone, we have seen already so many updates and changes to employment law this year, and with the with Labour coming into government as well just a few weeks ago, we're expecting to see another another amount of significant changes in the coming months, and it can be quite easy for businesses to get caught out and get themselves in some really sort of kind of tricky situations if they don't know what they, if they're not sort of keeping up to date in terms of what their obligations are by employing people. So that would definitely be one tip, is find a way to keep yourself up to date with what your obligations are as an employer, and also what is it that's actually changing and moving forward in the HR and employment law landscape.
And number 2?
probably follows on from the first point, and it's really just be proactive and invest in your people. So many businesses will take the time to invest in sales, they'll invest in marketing, but the people that are working for you are really they play an instrumental part in the success of your business, and it's only right that and makes sense for me. I'm probably a bit biased though because of the profession that I work in, but by taking a proactive approach to getting it right for your people just makes great business sense, and allows you to build really, really strong relationships. It allows you to get a feel for when things just maybe aren't quite right and doing something about it. And by taking that proactive approach, like I do with the clients that I work with, we're able to minimise the impact of any issues that are potentially, kind of bubbling under, and we can, before they become an issue that takes a lot of time and investment to fix.
Yeah. And number 3, the last pointer.
I think it's just continually ask yourself, what can I do to continue to make my business a great place to work for my people, and engage your people in in what that needs to look like, or what they feel that they need in their roles. And there's so much that you can look at in that space, from kind of from when people are coming on board and joining you as a new starter, right through to when and how you develop people, and what do the development opportunities look like for people to grow within your business. And so for me, it's ask yourself that question: what can I do to continue to make my business a great place to work, and what feedback can I get from my people to inform those sort of changes that I might be looking to make.
Perfect. That's great. That's really good advice. So I'll just put those into the YouTube chat as well. So top 3 golden tips from Stephen Allan. Keep up to date as an employer, proactive and invest in your people, and what can you do to make your working environment better? I've just dropped that into the chat area as well. I think it's so important that we look at those sort of 3 key areas. Thanks for sharing that. I always like to get some golden nuggets of information from my guests to really share with the online audience as well. We're talking about top tips, and we talked about working a lot in your business for the last 2.5 years, really getting up to grips, getting up to speed of what you want to achieve from it. How do you take time out for personal development? Do you dedicate any time to work on the actual business owner itself or the business? How do you split that, Stephen?
Personal and professional development has been something that's always been quite important to me throughout my career. I always probably, in my days when I was in-house, I probably put a lot more emphasis on developing other people and making sure that they were on track with their development, as opposed to really focusing on it myself. And it probably wasn't really until I studied my sort of first CIPD qualification, which was probably about 7 or 8 years ago now, that I really started to put a real focus on my own personal learning and professional development. So in the last 12 months, I've managed to obtain my level 5 coaching and mentoring qualification through ILM, and then just over the course of the last month or so, I have also gained my accreditation to become an Everything Disc practitioner. So Everything Disc is a behavioural profiling tool that I can use now to work with my clients. I can use it to work with individuals and teams, and the tool is a way for people to understand themselves better, understand other people better, and how they can improve relationships in the workplace, and ultimately improve performance overall.
Absolutely superb, and well done in regards of like taking the time out for your CIPD, and especially the disc. I guess that's investment into you, which benefits your business at the same time.
Absolutely, and although it's things that you can bring into the business as an additional service, there still is that, obviously, that element of personal learning for you as an individual going through that process. And certainly going through the coaching and Everything Disc this year as well, there's a lot of reflection comes along with that type of work. And I would always say I've naturally been quite a reflective person, and I do that quite a lot. But certainly through the coaching aspect of it, that has really emphasised the importance of reflection and continuing to reflect, and certainly for me as well. I don't know if you've ever came across the book The Chimp Paradox, but I talk about this book. I talk to people about this book all the time. It is absolutely my number one go-to, and for me, the last 12 months has definitely been a bit of learning in terms of getting much better at spotting what I'll say is some of the gremlins that show up, and that if anybody's familiar with the chimp paradox, they'll know what I mean by that. But kind of when these gremlins show up and when they appear, I'm getting better at taking steps to turn those sort of unhelpful thoughts, beliefs into something, a more positive autopilot and way of thinking. And that just for me helps really kind of build on the resilience that I've got as an individual and as a business owner, and it helps me deal with situations a lot quicker probably than what I might have done previously.
It's interesting. You talk about the gremlins. You talk about it's sort of like self-doubt kicks in behind. You got a secondary voice that kicks in behind, and it just changes your sort of mental focus and your drive that you want to achieve as well. And I think that's a great
100%.
book to touch on that. So
yeah, absolutely.
I've actually put that in the chat areas. Book recommendation. We've got Chimp Paradox in there from Stephen as well.
Yeah.
Drop that in there. So brilliant. We've talked about a lot today. We talked about your business journey. We talked about your top tips. We talked about your challenges, your achievements that you've had in that as well, especially you get the 2.5 years in your business. What's next around the corner for Stephen? Where do you see your business within the next sort of 6 to 12 months? What's around the corner for you?
I think it's for me. It's just continuing to focus on the growth of the business. Certainly in the last 12 to 18 months, the business has seen some really strong growth, which is great. I've managed to secure 2 contracts through local authorities, so North and South Lanarkshire Council, North Ayrshire Council. So working with both local authority business gateways, that's played quite a big part in terms of the growth that the business has seen. But we are also continuing to see kind of new clients approach us directly, and for me, it's just about keeping that momentum going, and just really continuing to build on our presence and kind of in Ayrshire and beyond. So yes, I think for me the main focus is just continuing to expand that client base, and in particular, the opportunity to work with businesses on an ongoing basis and providing that sort of kind of monthly support to try and take some pressure off of the business owner, allowing them to focus on what they need to do and running their business.
And do you see yourself in the months and years to come? Is this going to be just yourself, or do you think you'll take on a team around you as well?
That was another thing that sort of I was really debating about what that might look like, and kind of since the beginning of this year, I've also started working with a business mentor myself, and we thrashed that about quite a wee bit. So I have always sort of wanted to see the business become more than just me, and we are sort of kind of working on some plans for what that might look like. But in the last couple of months, we've had the opportunity to sort of get some support on board from VAs and a couple of other consultants just to help us, kind of get through a bit of a sort of, a bit of a bottleneck when a lot of work landed at the one time. So, when we're even seeing opportunities to do that, it is telling you that the business is scaling and it is going in the right direction. So, I hope we continue to see that happen, and we continue to get opportunities to get other people involved as well.
Brilliant. Well, I've seen the progression go on so far, and I can only see glorious achievements in the future ahead of yourself as well, like Stephen. So thanks for sharing that with me as well. As always, I like to really round things up with our conversation in the interview to really find out who is a great business introduction for you. So if someone's watching this right now and they might be in a place of looking for advice or support, maybe individually or a corporate client, who is a great business introduction? How can somebody help you today? What would be a great door opener for you today? Someone's listening and watching.
I think for me, it's great introductions would be organisations who are getting ready to grow or are getting, are currently experiencing periods of growth at the moment. Along with that growth, and more people comes more people challenges. And like I said earlier, going back to that, one of the tips that I said about being proactive and keeping ahead of what's happening. Besides the employment law aspect of it, working with a consultant like myself for a growing business, we also do a lot of work around about strategy, and we look at the journey that you're wanting to take your business on, and your people play such a key role in delivering kind of that growth, and what are the steps that you need to take as an organisation to help get you from A to B. So it's great to be able to kind of partner with these sort of organisations and look at the kind of some of the real strategic work and some of the real strategic steps that we need to take to get you to where you need to be. So like I said, any organizations who are growing at the moment are looking to grow. And the other piece of that as well for me is it's businesses who really want to get it right for their people. I'm not the type of consultant that will just go in and firefight continually, or I'm not just there to kind of help, or to help a business just continually resolve problems. I want to take and work with clients in a proactive way, and kind of take real positive steps, and to create great places to work as part of that business journey as well.
That's brilliant. So I'll drop that in the chat area as well. If he was watching and listening today, it's in the YouTube channel on the Revitalise Network. And business intros, organizations ready for growth, collaboration in HR, businesses that want to get it right for their people, which I think is really key on that side of it as well. So I've dropped that in there as well. And I think it's always important. It's great to do the interviews, do the podcast, do the conversation. But I like to finish off, what can we do to help each other? That's what networking plays. It's my life. It's what I do full time. So it's bringing people together on that one. So if you can help Stephen in any way, shape or form in any of those, if you've got questions about it, what's the best way of getting in touch with you, Stephen? Is it the website, or can they connect to you through LinkedIn as well?
Yeah, either or. So we can connect through LinkedIn, or all my contact details are on the website as well.
Brilliant. Super. Well, I highly recommend to everybody who's watching and listening or rewatching this back is to reach out to Stephen. You never know what opportunities you will discover when you start up a conversation, either virtually for a cup of coffee or in person for a cup of coffee, and reach out. And for many of our overseas guests who are watching today and wondering where Ayrshire is, just thought I'd answer this question as well. It's the west of Scotland that you'll find Ayrshire, just the west of Glasgow, further down that way as well. So a wonderful spot in the country as well. So thank you very much. Stephen, thanks again for joining me today.
No, thank you very much for having me, Lee. It's been great to catch up with you as always.
Absolute pleasure, well and truly. And thank you to everybody who's watching and listening, or watching a rerun of this on the YouTube channel, which is Revitalise Network. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. You can also follow us on LinkedIn, on Revitalise Network, and on LinkedIn as well. Keep an eye out on LinkedIn for the LinkedIn Lives. And we do have another business-focused podcast interview next week on Revitalise Meets, where I'll be welcoming along another business owner next Tuesday on the 6th of August at live at 5 on LinkedIn Live, and also on the YouTube channel on Revitalise Networking as well. From me and from Stephen, we'll wish you all the very best for the week ahead. And as always, keep connecting, everybody. We'll see you all very soon. Take care. Bye-bye for now.